The art of conversation, and even of polite small talk, has been lost to the tweet. What would happen if this week you made it your business to get to know the people who are in closest proximity to you, strictly in an attempt to know those near to you better?
This is Rise and Shine, a podcast that offers timeless wisdom and uplifting meditations to fill your heart, feed your soul, and start your day on a positive note. Here is Adrienne Gold-Davis.
So there's a famous old story goes like this. There once was a farmer who grew award-winning corn, and every year he entered his corn into the state fair where it always won a blue ribbon. So one year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him and learned something very interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his seed with his neighbors. How can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when they're entering corn in competition with yours each year? The reporter asked. Why, sir, said the farmer, didn't you know? You see, the wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn, and it swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn. It's clear from this parable that a good neighbor recognizes that the physical and the metaphysical seeds we sow into the universe end up impacting our own personal harvests. That to ensure your own well-being, one needs to worry about the well-being of one's neighbor. According to the 19th century sage, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, the Hebrew word for neighbor, shachen, comes from the same root as the Hebrew word meaning to dwell. Therein lies the highest social ideal. Being a neighbor can be literal or figurative. It can be the kid's desk beside your kid's desk, or the locker beside her locker. It can be the people you carpool with, or the community that you socialize with. In the end, the seeds of the plantings of those close to us are carried in the wind and planted in our own personal fields. And sometimes, without even consciously planting certain ideas and ideologies, we are manifesting them anyway. We are told to love our neighbor as ourselves, but also we're told to stay away from a bad neighbor. And sometimes it's not entirely within our control who our neighbors are. While we're more connected than ever before in the history of the world, in many, many ways, we are also more estranged. We don't know our neighbors, and we don't socialize with them. You know, I remember as a teenager, one of my aunts said to me, Adrienne, if you're ever in trouble, just go to any building along Bathurst Street. By the way, Bathurst Street in Toronto is the very Jewish corridor, and ring any buzzer. Just say, Booby, it's me. And someone is going to answer the door. As a child, I ran in and out of the neighbors' homes. I ate at their tables. These relationships were as precious to me as my own family, because I perceived them as an extension of them. In those days, you called adults by their last name if you didn't want to get in trouble, or if they were close to your parents, then they got the moniker auntie or uncle. Today, the majority of adults know less than a couple of their immediate next-door neighbors. And in apartment buildings, I'm afraid the statistics are even more grim. And so I ask, how can we fulfill the obligation to be a good neighbor if we don't know our neighbors at all? What would happen if this week you made it your business to get to know the people who are in closest proximity to you? What if you invited people to dinner that are outside of your tight social circle, strictly in an attempt to know those near to you better? You know, the benefits are extraordinary. For your children, it's the comfort of understanding that it does take a village, and for you, the added security of another set of adult eyes, interested in and concerned about your children. For you, It means widening your circle of love. Albert Einstein once famously said, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and in space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and his feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for the very few people nearest to us. Our task," he said, "must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty." So imagine, what if we widened our prisons and bashed through the bars? The urge for connection is deep and profound in the human condition. We have hundreds of Facebook friends, but we don't know our neighbors. We Instagram post our lunches, but usually eat them alone. We form groups online and chat rooms to discuss our issues with, but rarely sit face to face with our peers. The art of conversation, and even of polite small talk, has been lost to the tweet. Body language and nuance can't be expressed even with all the emojis and emoticons you add to your sentence. We can stalk our kids online, but have less family dinners together. It is vital that we rebuild our communities with more face-to-face contact. The Talmud teaches us that man has 3 friends on whose company he relies. First, wealth, which goes with him only while good fortune lasts. Second, his relatives. They go only as far as the grave and leave him there. The third friend, his good deeds, go with him beyond the grave. Doing good deeds for our neighbors, raking their leaves, shoveling their snow, looking out for them when we haven't seen them in a while, are all parts of the investments in community that reap eternal rewards and sweeten our time here on earth. Today, what will you do to go outside of your tight circle, to broaden your circle, and to reach out to others? The human heart always has more room for new friends and warm acquaintances. The more we give, the more we have capacity to give. Let us be determined to rebuild our societies, beginning in our own backyards.
Thanks for listening to Rise and Shine. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to Momentum Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Join Adrienne again next time for more timeless wisdom and uplifting meditations that fill your heart, feed your soul, and start your day on a positive note.
You're listening to a Momentum Podcast. For unlimited inspiration, wisdom, and empowerment, visit MomentumUnlimited.org.